He told her she was nothing. He told her she was an anchor, dragging him down to the bottom of the ocean. He laughed in her face while she cried in a crowded restaurant, leaving her with nothing but a broken lease and a shattered heart. Derek thought he had won. He thought status was a Rolex and a leased BMW. But he forgot one thing. True power doesn't need to shout. Sometimes it whispers, right before a $65 million Gulfstream G700 screams overhead to pick you up. This is the story of how the girl he mocked became the woman he couldn't afford. The appetizers had gone cold. That was the first sign. Mia Collins stared at the plate of calamari, the grease congealing into unappetizing white pools, mirroring the knot tightening in her stomach. Across the table, Derek was texting. He was always texting. The blue light of the screen illuminated his jawline, sharp, manicured, the jawline of a man who spent more time looking in the mirror than looking at the person sitting across from him. "Derek," Mia whispered, her voice cracking slightly. He didn't look up. His thumb swiped rapidly. "One sec, Mia. Big deal. Huge. You wouldn't understand the logistics." "We need to talk about the rent," she pressed, her hands trembling beneath the table. "My hours at the gallery got cut again. I know I promised to cover the utility bill this month, but if you could just cover the Wi-Fi and the water, I promise I'll pick up extra shifts at the coffee shop next week and—" Derek finally put the phone down. He didn't slam it. He placed it face down with a deliberate, terrifying calmness. He picked up his wine glass, a Pinot Noir he had spent 10 minutes lecturing the waiter about, and swirled it. "Mia," he said, his tone bored. "Stop. I'm just saying, it's temporary. I'm painting again, and I have a feeling that—" "Stop," he repeated, louder this time. A couple at the next table glanced over. Derek smiled at them, a charming, plastic smile, before turning his icy gaze back to Mia. "There is no we regarding the rent, because there is no we anymore." The air left the room, the clatter of silverware, the low hum of jazz, the laughter from the bar. It all silenced into a ringing white noise in Mia's ears. "What?" "I'm ending it," Derek said, taking a sip of wine. He looked at her as if he were firing an underperforming intern. "Look, let's be real. I'm ascending. I just closed the Peterson account. I'm looking at vice president within 2 years. I need a partner who reflects that trajectory." Mia felt tears pricking her eyes. She fought them back. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. "Reflects your trajectory?" "Derek, I've been with you since you were sleeping on a futon in Queens. I paid for your suit for your first interview." Derek laughed. It was a cruel, barking sound. "And that was sweet, really. You were a great starter girlfriend. But look at you, Mia. Look at this." He gestured vaguely at her outfit, a thrifted cardigan and jeans that had seen better days. "You're stagnant. You're happy being a starving artist. You have no ambition. You're an anchor, and I'm a rocket. You're too heavy." "I'm struggling, Derek. There's a difference." "To the world, there isn't," he sneered. "I need someone who walks into a room and commands attention. Someone with pedigree. Someone who knows the difference between a Gulfstream and a Cessna without having to Google it. You? You're just plain. You're background noise." He signaled the waiter for the check. "I'm not paying for your dinner," Derek added casually, pulling out his sleek black credit card. "Consider it a severance package that I'm paying for my own wine. You should probably move out by Friday. Tiffany is moving in on Sunday." The name landed like a physical blow. "Tiffany? The intern?" "She's not an intern anymore. She's in marketing. Her father owns a vineyard in Napa. She gets it." Derek stood up, buttoning his blazer. He looked down at Mia, who was now openly crying, her face buried in her hands. "Don't make a scene, Mia. It's pathetic. Just go find someone on your level. Maybe a barista or a dog walker. Someone who doesn't mind coupon clipping." He walked out. He didn't look back. He left her there, sobbing silently over cold calamari, with $40 in her bank account and nowhere to go. The waiter, a kind older man named Antonio, came over and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Miss, do you need water?" Mia looked up, mascara running down her cheeks. "I need a miracle," she whispered. She didn't know it then. But the miracle wasn't going to come from a prayer. It was going to come from the sheer, burning rage that ignited in her chest at that exact moment. She wiped her face with the rough linen napkin. Background noise, she thought. He thinks I'm background noise. Mia stood up. She didn't have money for the bill, but she left her last $20 bill on the table for Antonio. Was heavy. Cream-coloured cardstock was heavy. Cream-coloured cardstock, embossed with gold leaf. It sat on the glass desk of the penthouse office in London, looking out of place amidst the clutter of architectural blueprints and satellite imagery. Mia Collins picked it up. Her hands were steady now, manicured, no longer trembling. She wore a charcoal-tailored suit from Savile Row, fitted to perfection. Her hair, once frizzy and unmanageable, was now a sleek, dark silk bob. She didn't look like the girl who cried over calamari anymore. She looked like a weapon. "What's that?" a voice asked from the doorway. Liam casually walked in. Liam was her chief of staff, a brilliant, chaotic man who managed the impossible schedule of the woman the business world knew only as the architect. "High school reunion," Mia said, her voice low. 10-year. "Burn it," Liam said, dropping a stack of files on her desk. "You don't have time. You have the merger in Tokyo on Tuesday, the charity gala in Dubai on Friday, and Mr. Rothschild is still begging for 10 minutes of your time regarding the logistics of his island supply chain." Mia ran her thumb over the gold embossing. Cedar Ridge High School, class of 2018, the reunion of the decade. "It's in Arizona," she murmured. "Scottsdale. Gross. Why?" "One of the alumni made it big in tech, rented out a private estate with its own airfield. Trying to show off." Mia opened the card. Her eyes scanned the guest list included. A tacky addition, clearly meant to entice people to come by showing who else was attending. And there it was, Derek Sterling and Tiffany Moore. Mia's heart didn't skip a beat. It didn't race. Instead, it slowed down. A cold, predatory calm washed over her. She hadn't spoken to Derek in 5 years. She had blocked him on everything. But she knew where he was. He was a senior VP at a mid-tier logistics firm in Chicago. He posted incessantly on LinkedIn about hustle culture and grinding. He was doing well. He was rich, but he wasn't wealthy. Mia, on the other hand, didn't exist. Not on Google. After the breakup, Mia hadn't just painted. She had channeled her despair into a singular, obsessive focus. She had a gift Derek never understood, an intuitive understanding of complex systems. She had started fixing supply chains for small businesses anonymously online, then medium businesses. Then a fortuitous encounter on a cryptic Reddit forum led her to solve a logistics crisis for a shipping magnate in Singapore. One job led to another. She incorporated under a shell company. She became the architect. Corporations hired her to fix broken companies. Governments hired her to optimize disaster relief. She didn't want fame. She wanted security. She wanted so much money that no one could ever tell her she was too heavy again. She had succeeded. "Liam," Maya said, her eyes not leaving Derek's name. Yeah, boss? Clear my schedule for next weekend. Liam dropped his coffee cup. You're joking. The Tokyo merger. Reschedule it. Tell them I have a personal emergency. A ghost from the past needs to be exorcised. Liam sighed, picking up his tablet. Okay. Commercial? First class? Mia looked up. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her lips. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of a chess player who just saw mate in 3. No, she said softly. Call VistaJet. I want the Global 75. No, wait. Is the new Gulfstream ready? The G700? It's sitting in Teterboro. We just took delivery last week. Prep it, Mia said, and call my stylist. I need a dress. Something that says, I could buy your life and not check the price tag. And for the entry? Liam asked. Do you want security? No, Mia said, standing up and walking to the window overlooking the Thames. I want to walk in alone. I want them to see me. Just me. The jet will be the punchline. She looked at her reflection in the glass. The scared girl was gone. Derek wanted someone on his level. She whispered to the glass. I'm going to show him that I'm not on his level. I'm in the stratosphere. 2 days later, Scottsdale, Arizona. The heat in Arizona was dry, a stark contrast to London's drizzle. The reunion was being held at the Sterling Vance estate. No relation to Derek, much to his likely annoyance. A sprawling compound surrounded by red rocks and cacti, featuring a massive outdoor pavilion, a pool the size of a lake, and, crucially, a private airstrip running parallel to the event grounds. Mia didn't fly the jet in directly. Not yet. That was for the finale. She took a black town car from the commercial airport, dressed in a disguise of simplicity. She wore a simple black cocktail dress, vintage Chanel, understated but priceless to a trained eye, and minimal jewelry. She wanted to blend in at first. She wanted to hear what they said when they thought she was nothing. She walked into the venue. The sun was setting, casting long, dramatic shadows across the desert. A live band was playing covers of top 40 hits from 10 years ago. Waiters circulated with champagne. And there he was. Derek hadn't aged well. He was still handsome, but he looked puffy. Stress lines etched his forehead. He was holding a glass of whiskey, speaking loudly to a group of men who looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. Hanging onto his arm was Tiffany. She looked bored, scrolling on her phone, wearing a dress that was too sparkly and too loud. Mia took a breath. She grabbed a glass of sparkling water and drifted toward the circle, staying just outside their peripheral vision. So I told the CEO, Derek was booming, you can't cut corners on the midstream distribution. It's basic economics. But of course, they don't listen to the guys on the ground. We're pulling in 7 figures this year, easy. But the overhead is killing my bonus structure. Wow, Derek. Killing it, one of the guys said flatly. Hey, isn't that... The man pointed. Derek turned. His eyes landed on Mia. For a second, there was no recognition. Then, a flicker of confusion. Then, the sneer. It was the same sneer from the restaurant 5 years ago. Well, Derek said, his voice carrying over the music. He detached himself from Tiffany and stepped toward Mia. The circle of men parted, sensing blood. If it isn't Mia Collins, the artist. He said the word artist like it was a slur. Hello, Derek, Mia said calmly. I didn't think you could afford the ticket price for tonight, Derek laughed, looking her up and down. $80 a plate. Did you have to start a GoFundMe? Tiffany giggled, covering her mouth. Derek, be nice. Maybe she's catering. The group erupted in laughter. Mia stood perfectly still. She didn't flinch. I'm doing okay, Derek, she said. Okay, look at you. He gestured to her simple black dress. You look plain. Still, I see you haven't found a man to upgrade you yet. Still shopping at the thrift store? It's vintage, Mia said softly. Vintage means used, Mia, Derek smirked. He stepped closer, invading her personal space. He smelled of expensive cologne and stale whiskey. I told you back then, Mia. You have to elevate. I'm a VP now. I drive a Porsche. We just bought a summer house in the Hamptons. What do you have? Mia looked him in the eye. I have my dignity. Derek threw his head back and laughed. Dignity? Can you pay the rent with dignity? Can you fly first class with dignity? He turned to the crowd, raising his voice. He wanted an audience. He wanted to humiliate her to boost his own ego. Hey everyone, remember Mia? The girl who thought her finger paintings were going to change the world. She's here. Let's get her a drink. On me. She probably can't afford the open bar tip. Mia felt the eyes of the room on her. People were whispering. Some looked pitying, others amused. It was high school all over again, amplified by adult insecurities. You haven't changed, Derek, Mia said, her voice steel. And you haven't grown, he countered. You're still the same little mouse. I did you a favor dumping you. Imagine if I had to drag you to my corporate galas. You'd embarrass me. He leaned in close, whispering so only she could hear. You're a failure, Mia. And you know it. That's why you're standing here alone, while I have everything. Mia checked her watch. A Patek Philippe turned inward so the face was hidden. 7:14 p.m. You're right, Derek, she said, raising her voice so the group could hear. I am alone. But sometimes it's better to fly alone than to be weighed down by baggage. Baggage? Derek scoffed. Honey, I'm the prize. You're the baggage. Suddenly, the wind picked up. It wasn't a breeze, it was a gust. The napkins on the tables fluttered. The water in the pool rippled. A low rumble began in the distance. It wasn't thunder. It was a deep, mechanical whine that vibrated in the chest. What is that? Tiffany asked, looking up. The rumble grew into a roar. The guests stopped talking. The band stopped playing. Everyone looked toward the dark outline of the mountains. Lights appeared in the sky, bright, piercing LEDs. Not a small Cessna, not a helicopter. Something massive was on approach. The roar became deafening. It was a physical weight, pressing down on the chest of every guest at the Sterling Vance estate. Is that a crash landing? Someone screamed, dropping their wine glass. No, Derek shouted over the noise, trying to maintain control of the crowd's attention. It's probably the estate owner, just a standard drop-in. Everyone calm down. But it wasn't standard. From the darkness of the desert sky, the underbelly of the machine illuminated by the runway floodlights, the beast emerged. It was sleek, predatory, and impossibly large for a private gathering. This wasn't the kind of plane a dentist rents for a weekend in Vegas. This was a Gulfstream G700, the titan of the skies, glistening in midnight blue livery with a silver stripe running down the fuselage. The wind from the engines whipped the tablecloths into a frenzy. Napkins flew like surrendered flags. The band's drum kit toppled over with a crash. Tiffany shrieked as her perfectly sprayed hair was blasted into a chaotic mess. Mia stood unmoving. The wind tore at her dress, but she didn't shield her eyes. She watched the plane with the critical eye of someone inspecting a tool. A little heavy on the braking, Silas, she thought. You're in a hurry. The massive jet taxied to a halt less than 50 yards from the open-air pavilion, its engines whining down from a scream to a high-pitched whistle. The sheer size of it eclipsed the moon. The heat radiating from the turbines distorted the air, making the reunion attendees look like wavering ghosts. Silence descended on the party, heavier than the noise had been. My God, a man next to Derek whispered. Do you know how much that bird costs? That's $75 million of aluminum sitting right there. Derek straightened his tie, recovering his composure. He saw an opportunity. Like I said, Derek announced loudly, puffing out his chest. It's the owner. I actually sent an email to his management team last week, mentioning we were here. He probably stopped by to say hello to me. We move in similar circles. Tiffany grabbed his arm, eyes wide. Derek, really? You know him? I know of him, Derek lied smoothly, his confidence returning. And people at that level, they respect hustle. Watch this. The door of the Gulf Stream began to open. The automatic stairs unfolded with a hydraulic hiss, illuminated by soft LED runner lights. The crowd held its breath. Who was stepping out? A Hollywood star? A Saudi prince? A tech mogul? Derek stepped forward, separating himself from the commoners. He adjusted his cuffs, preparing to greet the billionaire and perhaps leverage the introduction into a job offer. He looked back at Mia, who was still standing by the drinks table, alone. "Hey, Mia," Derek called out, sneering. "Take notes. This is what success looks like. Maybe if you're lucky, I'll get you an autograph." Mia didn't respond. She just took a sip of her sparkling water, her eyes locked on the open door of the plane. "Move back," Derek commanded the other guests. "Give the man space. Let me handle the greeting." A figure appeared in the doorway of the jet. It wasn't a billionaire in a tuxedo. It was a pilot. But not just any pilot. He was a mountain of a man, dressed in a pristine navy uniform, with 4 gold stripes on the epaulets. His hat was pulled low, and he moved with the precise, terrifying urgency of special forces. This was Captain Silas, former Royal Air Force, and the only man Mia trusted to fly her through a typhoon. Silas descended the stairs, his boots clicking rhythmically on the metal steps. He carried a sleek, metallic briefcase, handcuffed to his left wrist. Derek stepped into his path at the bottom of the stairs, extending a hand. "Welcome," Derek boomed. "I'm Derek Sterling. I believe you're looking for—" Silas didn't even blink. He didn't slow down. He didn't look at Derek's hand. He walked through the space Derek occupied, forcing Derek to stumble backward into a waiter to avoid a collision. "Hey!" Derek shouted, his face reddening. "I'm talking to you, pal. You can't just walk onto a private party and—" Silas ignored him completely. His eyes scanned the crowd, laser-focused, looking for a specific target. The crowd parted like the Red Sea under his gaze. He spotted her, standing by the bar, holding a glass of water, looking bored. Silas marched straight toward Mia. The crowd gasped. Why was the pilot walking toward the broke girl in the vintage dress? "He's going to kick her out," Tiffany whispered loudly to her friends. "She probably trespassed or something. Oh, this is going to be good." Derek straightened up, dusting off his jacket. "That's it. Security is here to escort her off the premises. About time." Silas stopped 3 feet in front of Mia. He snapped his heels together and stood at rigid attention. The chatter in the room died instantly. You could hear a pin drop in the Arizona desert. Silas didn't yell. He didn't scold. He bowed his head slightly, a gesture of immense respect. "Ma'am," Silas said, his voice deep and carrying clearly across the silent patio. "My apologies for the intrusion, but we have a code red situation." Mia set her water glass down on the table. The sound of the glass hitting the wood echoed. "I told Liam to clear my schedule, Silas," Mia said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it had a timbre of authority that none of her former classmates had ever heard. It was the voice of someone who gave orders that moved economies. "I know, ma'am," Silas replied, keeping his posture rigid. "But the encryption key for the Tokyo merger was compromised 7 minutes ago. The board is in panic mode. Mr. Rothschild is on the secure line in the jet. He says he won't make a move until you give the green light. He says the deal is dead without the architect. The architect? The name rippled through the crowd. Most didn't know what it meant, but they felt the weight of it. Derek laughed. It was a nervous, confused sound. He walked over, flanked by Tiffany. "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa," Derek interjected, stepping between Silas and Mia. "Okay, very funny. Is this a prank? Did you hire a stripper cop, Mia? Code Red? The architect? Give me a break." He turned to Silas, poking the pilot in the chest with his finger. "Listen, buddy, I don't know how much she paid you for this little skit, but the joke is over. This is a class reunion, not a theater production. Get back in your plane, and—" Silas moved so fast it was a blur. In one fluid motion, he intercepted Derek's finger, twisting the wrist just enough to immobilize him without breaking it, and shoved him back. Derek stumbled, falling onto his backside in the dirt. "Do not touch the flight crew," Silas said. His voice was ice. "And do not interrupt a briefing." Tiffany shrieked. "You assaulted him. I'm calling the police." "Call them," Silas said, not looking at her. "By the time they get here, we'll be at 45,000 feet. He turned back to Mia, ignoring the man groaning in the dirt. He raised the wrist, handcuffed to the briefcase. "We have the satellite uplink ready, Ma'am, but we need to be airborne in 10 minutes to catch the window for the Asian markets opening. Do we scrub the mission, or do we fly?" Mia looked down at Derek. He was looking up at her, his expensive suit covered in dust. His face was a mask of confusion and rage. "Mia?" Derek sputtered. "What is this? Who are you?" Mia didn't answer him immediately. She looked at the crowd. She saw the faces of the people who had ignored her all night, the people who had laughed when Derek mocked her. She reached out and took the briefcase from Silas. "We fly," Mia said. "Very good, Ma'am." Silas tapped his earpiece. "Prepare for immediate departure. The principal is on the move." "Wait!" Derek scrambled to his feet. His brain was trying to process the impossible. The jet, the pilot, the deference. It didn't make sense. Mia was the girl who cried over rent money. "Mia, stop! You can't just leave. You don't have money for this. Who are you sleeping with? Is it the owner? Is that it?" Mia stopped. She turned slowly. The rotors of the jet began to spin up, the whine increasing in pitch. "You still don't get it, do you, Derek?" Mia asked, her voice calm amidst the rising noise. "Get what? That you're a gold digger?" "I'm not sleeping with the owner, Derek," Mia said, a small, sad smile playing on her lips. She gestured to the massive blue tail of the Gulf Stream. There, painted in silver script near the tail number, were 2 small letters that no one had noticed in the dark until the strobe lights hit them. MC. Mia Collins. "I am the owner," Mia said. The silence that followed was louder than the jet engine. Derek's mouth fell open. He looked from the plane to Mia, then back to the plane. No, that's impossible. You paint bad watercolors. You work at a gallery." "I did," Mia said, 5 years ago. "But you were right about one thing, Derek. You told me I needed to ascend. You told me I was an anchor." She took a step closer to him. The wind from the engines whipped her hair back, making her look like a warrior queen. "I cut the rope," she said, "and I didn't just float. I soared. While you were fighting for a VP title and leasing a car you can't afford, I was building a logistics empire that controls how your little company ships its boxes." Derek paled. "What?" "Sterling Logistics uses the Orion routing software, don't they?" Mia asked casually. "Yes, it's the industry standard. How do you know that?" "I wrote it," Mia said. "I own the patent. Every time you ship a package, Derek, you pay me 12 cents. You've been funding my lifestyle for 3 years." The color drained from Derek's face completely. He looked like he was going to be sick. "No," he whispered. That's lie." "Check the licensing agreement on Monday," Mia said coldly. "Look for the holding company. MC Holdings. Connect the dots." She turned back to Silas. "Let's go. I have a merger to save." "Wait!" Tiffany yelled, stepping forward. She looked desperate. "Mia, wait! We were just joking. About the dress. It's beautiful, totally chic. Listen, Derek's company is looking for a new logistics partner. Maybe we could—" Mia didn't even slow down. She walked onto the red carpet of the stairs. But Derek wasn't done. His ego couldn't handle the fracture. He ran toward the stairs. "You owe me," he screamed, his voice cracking. "I made you. I motivated you. If I hadn't dumped you, you'd be nothing. You owe me a ride. We can talk about this on the plane." He tried to grab the handrail. A massive security guard, who had emerged silently from the cabin, blocked the path. He was wider than the doorframe. Mia stopped at the top of the stairs. She looked down at her ex-boyfriend, sweating, dusty, and desperate in the dirt. "I don't owe you a ride, Derek," she called down, "and I certainly don't owe you a conversation." "But I'm a VP!" Derek shouted, tears of frustration in his eyes. "I'm somebody." Mia looked at him with genuine pity. "To the world you might be," she said, "but from up here, you just look like an ant." She turned and disappeared into the cabin. The stairs began to retract. "Mia!" Derek screamed. "Mia!" The door sealed shut with a heavy, pressurized thud, the sound of money closing its doors to the poor. But the story wasn't over. As the jet engines roared to full power, preparing to blast sand into Derek's face, Mia sat down in her leather swivel chair and looked at the tablet Silas handed her. There was an incoming video call. It wasn't the Tokyo board. It was the CEO of Derek's company. Mia smiled. She pressed, "Accept." "Put it on the external speakers," Mia commanded Silas. "I want them to hear this." The desert night was silent, save for the high-pitched whine of the Gulfstream's auxiliary power unit. The guests at the reunion stood frozen, their eyes darting between the massive jet and the man standing at the bottom of the stairs. Derek was trembling, not from the cold, but from a cocktail of adrenaline and dread. He stared at the closed door of the jet. "She's bluffing," he muttered, turning to Tiffany, who had taken a cautious step away from him. "She's insane. She hacked the PA system or something. There's no way." Suddenly, a crackle of static erupted from the jet's external address system. The speakers, hidden in the fuselage, were designed to communicate with ground crew in loud environments. Tonight, they were a megaphone for judgment. "Testing!" Silas's voice boomed across the estate, echoing off the canyon walls. "External audio active." Then a ringing sound, the distinct trill of a video call connecting. "Hello? Ms. Collins? Are you there?" The voice was unmistakable to anyone in the logistics industry. It was gravelly, impatient, and commanded respect. It was Arthur Henderson, the CEO of Henderson Global, the parent company Derek worked for. Derek's knees buckled. He grabbed the back of a chair to steady himself. "Mr. Henderson," he whispered. Mia's voice came through the speakers next, crystal clear. "I'm here, Arthur. I'm currently on the tarmac in Arizona. I have a flight window in 6 minutes, so make it quick. Why are you calling me on the emergency line?" "I needed to catch you before you went dark over the Pacific," Henderson said. He sounded stressed. "It's about the Midwest restructuring. We're in a free fall, Mia. The Q3 numbers just came in, and they are catastrophic. I need the architect to step in. Name your price. Double your retainer. I don't care." The crowd at the reunion gasped. They looked at Derek. 5 minutes ago, he had been bragging about record profits. Catastrophic? Mia's voice was cool, detached. "I read the reports your VP of Operations sent over. According to him, the Peterson account was closed successfully, and efficiency is up 40%. Derek's face went grey. He started waving his hands at the plane, as if he could physically stop the sound waves. "No," he mouthed. "Don't." "The Peterson account?" Henderson let out a bitter, barking laugh. "That's the problem. It's smoke and mirrors. My VP lied. He cooked the books to trigger his performance bonus. The client walked 3 weeks ago when they realized he promised shipping lanes we don't even own. We're looking at a lawsuit, Mia. Fraud. Embezzlement." A collective "ooh" went through the crowd. Phones were out now. People were recording. "That's unfortunate," Mia said. "Who is the VP in charge of that sector again?" "You know who it is," Henderson sighed. "Derek Sterling. The man is a liability. He's a charming talker. I'll give him that. But he couldn't manage a lemonade stand. I'm firing him Monday morning. Actually, legal is drafting the termination letter right now. Security is already clearing out his desk in Chicago." Derek dropped to his knees. It wasn't a figure of speech. His legs simply gave out. He knelt in the dirt, his expensive Italian suit absorbing the dust, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "Derek," Tiffany whispered, horrified. "You told me you were getting a promotion. You told me the Peterson deal paid for my lease." I can fix it," Derek stammered, looking up at the unfeeling metal bird. "I just need time." Mia's voice cut through the air again. "Well, Arthur, that sounds like a mess. But I don't work with companies that employ liars. It's bad for my brand." "He's gone," Henderson promised. "Consider him history. Just please look at the supply chain data. I can't lose this company." "Fine," Mia said. "Send the raw data to my server. I'll review it somewhere over Alaska. But Arthur?" "Yes?" "Make sure the termination is public. I believe in transparency." "Done. Thank you, Mia. You're a lifesaver." The call clicked off. The silence returned, but this time it was heavy with the weight of total destruction. Derek Sterling hadn't just been dumped. He had been professionally annihilated in front of his entire high school class, his girlfriend, and the world. "Clear the area." Silas's voice boomed through the speakers. "Engine start in T-30 seconds. Hazard distance, 200 feet. The guests scrambled back, moving away from Derek as if he were radioactive. "Tiffany!" Derek reached out a hand. "Help me up." Tiffany Moore looked at him. She looked at the sweat dripping down his forehead, the fear in his eyes, and the lies that were now unraveling around him. She looked at the private jet that Mia Collins, the girl Derek had called a loser, was commanding like a starship. Tiffany took her phone out. She opened her banking app. "You said the rent was covered," she hissed. "You said you had the bonus. I was going to get it. I just needed to move some numbers around." "You're broke," Tiffany realized. She stepped back, her heels digging into the grass. "And you're fired, and you're nothing." "Tiffany, don't be like this." "I'm not being like anything," she spat. "I'm just doing what you taught me. I'm upgrading." She turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd of onlookers who were already uploading the videos to TikTok. Derek was left alone in the center of the makeshift runway, a man dismantled by the very ambition he used to weaponize against others. The engines of the Gulfstream G700 ignited with a bone-shaking roar. Derek covered his head with his arms as the jet blast hit him. It was hot, smelling of kerosene and power. He was battered by a storm of dust, napkins, and dead leaves. He coughed, choking on the exhaust of the woman he had underestimated. The massive plane began to move. It didn't lurch, it glided. It gathered speed with terrifying grace. the lights of the cabin flashing past Derek's watering eyes. He saw a silhouette in one of the windows. Mia. She wasn't looking at him. She was looking at her tablet. She had already moved on. The jet lifted off the runway, the nose pitching up aggressively. It soared over the Sterling Vance estate, banking sharply to the west, climbing toward the stars. Within seconds, it was nothing but a blinking red light in the vast Arizona sky, leaving Derek in the dark. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was serene. The G700 was a sanctuary of cream leather and walnut wood. The roar of the engines was dampened to a gentle hum. Mia sat in the master executive seat. She placed the tablet on the side table and exhaled. It was a long, shaky breath. Her hands, which had been steady as stone during the confrontation, trembled slightly now. Silas's voice came over the internal intercom. "Climbing to 45,000. We have clear skies all the way to Tokyo, ma'am. ETA is 12 hours. Can I get you anything?" "Champagne, Silas," Mia whispered. "The vintage. And turn off the cabin lights. I just want to look at the stars." "Copy that." The lights dimmed. The cabin was bathed in the soft blue glow of the floor runners. A flight attendant, a young woman named Sarah, whom Mia had hired for her discretion, appeared silently with a bottle of Dom Perignon and a crystal flute. She poured the golden liquid and set it down. "Are you okay, Miss Collins?" Sarah asked gently. Mia looked out the window. The world below was a grid of lights. Somewhere down there, in that tiny cluster of sparks, was Derek. "I don't know," Mia admitted. "I thought I would feel happy. I thought revenge would taste sweet." "And how does it taste?" Mia took a sip of the champagne. It was crisp, cold, and expensive. "It tastes like closure," Mia said. "It's not sweet. It's just finished." She leaned back, closing her eyes. The confrontation had been 5 years in the making. Every late-night coding, every risky business deal, every sacrifice she had made to become the architect. A part of her had always wondered if she was doing it for herself, or just to prove him wrong. Derek had been the catalyst. He had broken her heart so completely that she had to build a heart of steel just to survive. But tonight, seeing him on his knees, begging for a job he had already lost, she didn't feel hate anymore. She felt indifference. He was small. He was a relic of a past life that no longer fit her. Her phone buzzed on the table. It was a text from Liam in London. "Liam, just got an alert. Henderson Global stock dropped 4% in after-hours trading. Rumor is the CEO just fired his VP of Ops live on a hot mic. Internet is going crazy. You okay?" Mia typed back. "Mia, I'm fine. Just taking out the trash." She put the phone away. She picked up the dossier on the Tokyo merger. This was her life now. High stakes, billions of dollars, global movements. She wasn't Mia the artist anymore. She wasn't Mia the waitress. But as she looked at the file, a thought nagged at her. Derek had mocked her for being an artist. He said she had no ambition. But the truth was, she treated business like art. She saw patterns where others saw chaos. She painted with logistics, using ships and planes as her brush strokes. She was still an artist. She just used a bigger canvas. "Silas," Mia said into the intercom. "Go ahead, ma'am. When we land in Tokyo, have the car take us to the Imperial Palace Gardens first, before the meeting." "The gardens, ma'am. We'll be tight on time." "I know," Mia said, looking at her reflection in the dark window. "But I need to see something beautiful. I've spent too much time looking at ugly things." "Understood. Gardens first." Mia settled into the soft leather. She was flying at Mach 0.90, faster than the speed of sound, leaving the sound of Derek's voice far behind her. But just as she began to relax, the satellite phone on the desk rang. It wasn't a cell signal, it was the encrypted line, the one only 3 people in the world had the number for. Maya frowned. She sat up. "Silas?" "I see it, ma'am," the pilot said, his voice tense. "It's an incoming priority signal. Source is unlisted, but the encryption signature matches the Pentagon." Mia stared at the phone. It flashed red. Derek was the past. But this? This was the future. And it looked like the future wasn't going to let her rest. She picked up the receiver. "This is the architect." A voice on the other end spoke. It was a voice she hadn't heard in 2 years. A voice that belonged to a man she had once loved. Before Derek, before the money, before everything. A man who was supposed to be dead. "Mia," the voice rasped. "Don't land in Tokyo. It's a trap." "Caleb?" Mia's voice barely registered above a whisper, though her heart was hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. "That's impossible. You died in the extraction in Beirut. I saw the report. I saw the body. You saw what we wanted you to see." The voice rasped. It was him. The slight drawl, the weariness, the undeniable cadence of the only man who had ever known Mia before she was the architect, back when she was just a logistics prodigy trying to fix a broken aid supply line in a war zone. "Listen to me, Mia. The Tokyo merger. It's a front. The chaotic supply chain data you were sent. It wasn't incompetence. It was bait." Mia's hand tightened on the phone. "Bait for who?" "For you," Caleb said. "The syndicate knows you're the only one who can untangle the algorithm. Once you land and input your key into their server, they don't need you anymore. The contract on your head is already signed. The hit team is waiting at Haneda Airport." Mia closed her eyes. The adrenaline from the reunion, the petty victory over Derek, the satisfaction of crushing Tiffany's ego, evaporated instantly. That was child's play. That was high school drama. This was the world she lived in now, a world of shadows, encryption keys, and ghosts who came back from the dead. She looked at the champagne flute sitting on the table. The bubbles were still rising, oblivious to the fact that the woman drinking them was being hunted. "Silas," Mia said, her voice snapping back to the cold, hard steel of a commander. "Ma'am?" The pilot's voice came through instantly. "Change of flight plan. Abort Tokyo. Immediately." There was a pause, a heavy silence from the cockpit. Silas knew the cost of aborting a flight plan mid-route. It flagged them on every radar from Beijing to Anchorage. "New destination?" Silas asked, his tone betraying no fear, only readiness. Mia looked at the digital map on the bulkhead. They were over the Pacific, a tiny dot in a vast expanse of blue darkness. "Geneva," Mia said. "The vault." "That's a 12-hour detour, ma'am. We'll need to refuel mid-air or land in a non-extradition zone. Make it happen, Silas, and go dark. Kill the transponder. I don't want anyone tracking this bird until we're wheels down in Switzerland." "Copy. Going dark. Hold on, it's going to get bumpy." The Gulf Stream banked hard to the left, the G-forces pressing Mia into the soft leather. She didn't flinch. She brought the phone back to her ear. "I'm diverting," she told Caleb. "But if you're lying to me, if this is another game—" "I'm not playing games, Mia," Caleb said softly. "I've been watching you. I saw what you did back there in Arizona, with the ex-boyfriend." Mia let out a short, dry laugh. "You saw that?" "Satellite feed," Caleb admitted. "You were ruthless. I liked it. You're not the same girl I met in that coffee shop in Vienna." "I had to kill her," Mia said, looking at her reflection in the dark window. "She was too soft. She let people walk all over her." "And now? Now I walk over countries," Mia said. "Where are you, Caleb?" "I'll meet you in Geneva," Safe House Bravo. Don't bring the security team. Just you." The line went dead. Mia slowly lowered the phone. She sat in the dim blue light of the cabin, listening to the hum of the engines as they pushed the aircraft to its mechanical limit. She thought about Derek. Right now, Derek was probably still standing in the dirt of that Arizona estate, or maybe sitting in his leased BMW, crying into the steering wheel. He was worrying about his credit score. He was worrying about what his neighbors would think. He was worrying about a job that paid him a salary she now made in 4 minutes of interest. He had called her an anchor. He was right. She had been an anchor. But he didn't understand what anchors did. They didn't just drag you down, they held you steady in a storm. And when you cut them loose, you drifted. You got lost. Derek was drifting now, lost in a sea of mediocrity he would never escape. But Mia, she wasn't an anchor anymore. She wasn't a rocket, either. She was the gravity. She was the force that moved things, unseen, powerful, and terrifying. She picked up the champagne again. She took a sip. "Sarah," she called out to the flight attendant. Sarah appeared from the galley, looking slightly shaken by the sudden maneuver. "Yes, Miss Collins." "Get me my laptop," Mia said, her eyes gleaming with a new, dangerous light. "And get Henderson on the line again." "Mr. Henderson? But it's 3 a.m. in Chicago." "I don't care what time it is," Mia said, opening the laptop as Sarah handed it to her. "He wanted the architect to fix his supply chain? I'm going to fix it. But my price just went up." She began to type, her fingers flying across the keyboard. Code cascaded down the screen. Complex logistical algorithms that would reroute thousands of ships, planes, and trucks across the globe. She wasn't just saving a company. She was weaponizing it. She was routing the supply lines away from the syndicate's territories, choking their resources without firing a single bullet. "And Sarah?" "Yes, ma'am." "Draft a press release. Send it to the Wall Street Journal, Financial Times, and Forbes." "What's the headline?" Sarah asked, pulling out her notepad. Mia stopped typing. She looked out the window at the stars, which seemed close enough to touch. Headline: Sterling Logistics files for bankruptcy. Assets to be acquired by MC Holdings. Sarah's eyes widened. "You're buying his company?" "I'm buying the carcass," Mia corrected. "I'm going to strip it for parts, keep the good employees, and turn the headquarters into a shelter for stray dogs. Derek always hated dogs." A small, genuine smile touched Mia's lips for the first time that night. "And send one final email to Derek Sterling. Subject line: Severance package." What should the body of the email say? Mia thought for a moment. She remembered the cold calamari. She remembered the way he looked at his watch while breaking her heart. She remembered the feeling of being small. "Just write this," Mia said. "You told me to find someone on my level. I looked. I couldn't find anyone. So I built a new level. Enjoy the view from the bottom." The anchor. Mia hit enter on her code. The execution command sent terabytes of data flooding into the global network. The jet roared through the night, a silver bullet chasing the dawn. Mia Collins closed her laptop. She wasn't running away from the past anymore. She was flying toward a war, and for the first time in her life, she knew she was going to win. Because the girl who cried in the restaurant was dead. Long live the architect. Mia Collins didn't just get revenge, she got a reformation. She proved that the best response to disrespect isn't an argument. It's absolute, undeniable success. Derek Sterling spent his life chasing status symbols, never realizing that true status is owning the game, not just playing it. He lost his job, his girl, and his dignity in a single night. Not because Mia was cruel, but because he was too blind to see the diamond he was holding until it cut him. What a ride. From a breakup at a dinner table to a billion-dollar power move at 45,000 feet. It just goes to show, be careful who you step on today, because they might be the one flying the jet tomorrow. If you loved this story of karma, high-stakes drama, and sweet revenge, make sure to smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share this video with a friend who needs a reminder of their own worth. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you never miss a story. We drop new dramas every week. Until next time, keep your standards high and your head higher.